Hey everyone, Dan here. We are after market close on Monday, July 12th. We're going to do our daily look at SoFi in this video. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also, if you talk or consume or share stock info on any social media platform like Reddit, Twitter, or Facebook, or another website like StockTwits or wherever else folks do things, and you would like to share any of these videos, I would definitely appreciate that as well. Okay, so we're going to do a two-parter in today's video. We're going to take a relatively quick look at the chart, and then I'm going to dive into basically my 1 year, my 3 to 5 year, and then my 10-year kind of price targets that I have for SoFi, as I do have longer dated call options and shares in SoFi. So I wanted to share my targets and sort of like how I got there. Okay, so quickly looking at the chart here, like I said, we had a pretty flat day today. This is just to sort of like give you the lay of the land in case you didn't watch last vid or you can't remember. But these are fib retracements. This yellow one is taking into consideration this big uptick from like 1189 to 2826. So sort of like the broader context. And this is this fib is like the uptick that lies within that bigger uptick, which we may see sort of like as confluence in a shorter time frame, which we're in right now. But this was from 1403 to 2494 when we had that jump up in a relatively short period of time. So zooming into the 5-day, we see us just sort of settling down on this shorter term fib time frame 78.6 retracement level. If it can continue to hold that, I would definitely look for it to push up toward that that 618 mark at 1820. I think that it's been respecting these levels well enough that we can kind of trust this as sort of like a fixture of the chart for the time being. If it can't hold this and it does have to catch a next level of support, we have 1539 and then 1403. But, sort of looking at the price targets that we're going to talk about, the cheapness of these shares is really, sparking some interest, I think. If I'm a little extra wonky in today's video, I apologize. I'm feeling really under the weather lately, and I'm not quite sure what's going on, so I'm doing my best to power through. But bear with me if words come with more difficulty than normal. So let's sort of like set the groundwork for what I want to talk about. So just from like a basics perspective, what I want to focus on for SoFi as I'm setting the price targets is the market cap. So I'm not worried about like what this price is, and I'm not worried specifically about what the total shares out is, but I'm more focused on the market cap, which is just a blend of those things. But sometimes folks ask questions around like, oh, can you believe that such and such a stock is trading at $100 and this other stock is trading at 40? Don't you think that like the $40 stock is actually like much more valuable? But you have to remember it's the market cap that you should be looking at, not just the per share price of the stock, because it depends how many shares are out there. So 13 billion market cap for SoFi. Now, what I want to look at are some similar companies in the space and what their market cap is, and see where SoFi might be leading to in the coming years, and that therefore we'll get the price targets that I have for it. Let's first talk about the space that they're in and sort of the company itself, and to just get a sense of like what similar companies we should be looking at in order to do the thing that I just described. So a couple of things. For the company itself, I put out an earnings video. If you want to go back and look at that, I'll put another one out as we get closer to earnings. But folks are going to be expecting really good earnings, I think, because the last report that was out before the merger happened was very, very strong. But from a company perspective, like how is the company performing? That is obviously a really good sign. We should expect great things, and if we're going to have high price targets on things, then we're going to have to expect really good reporting in the future. But 216 million in the first quarter, well ahead of their guidance of 190 to 195 million. So we would look for that to continue to boost up quite significantly. The member growth meaningfully accelerated, jumping 110% to 2.28 million. So there's also a ton of like green fields in front of SoFi, meaning if their members have jumped up 110% and that gets them to 2.28 million, there are a lot of potential customers still out there for SoFi, and so they have a lot of room to run and accelerate that growth forward. And then, this acquisition of Galileo, which SoFi acquired last year, has reached 70 million, up from 59 million in the fourth quarter. Galileo provides back-end infrastructure functionalities to third-party companies, so keep that in mind. Student loan organizations, which is where SoFi initially started as a business, remain the dominant loan category, 1 billion in originations in the first quarter. Personal loan originations were 805.7 million, and home loan originations were 735.6 million. That brought the total originations to over $2.5 billion. It's forecasting adjusted net revenue of 980 million for the year, representing growth of 58% over 2020. So this is really great from just a business revenue metrics perspective on SoFi. So also SoFi leadership team, if you're not familiar, really great pedigrees, really great experience coming in. So Anthony Noto served as Chief Operating Officer of Twitter since November 2016 and as CFO when joining the company in 2014. Prior to Twitter, he served for almost 4 years as co-head of global TMT investment banking at Goldman Sachs. So there's obviously the strong banking tie-in, and went to Wharton, graduate of the U.S. Military Academy. So great experience there. Their current CFO joined from Uber, head of FP&A. So as they go out and they work to grow and acquire other businesses, this team and these people are going to be very, very instrumental in that. I won't go through everyone, but this is just sort of say, as we tick down the line here and then through the rest of their leadership team, there's similar experience levels across the board. If we look at SoFi here with sort of some info that they put out about going public, they're talking here about the money that they raised, but they're also talking about that the company plans to expand geographically and build the first digital one-stop shop for members to borrow, save, spend, invest, and protect their money. So keep that in mind. These are the sort of like areas in which SoFi is going to play a role. Borrowing money, which we talked about previously with the originations, saving money, so savings accounts, spending money, so something like PayPal, Square, something like that, invest, so think about choose your Webull or Gatsby, or those are linked in the description below if you want, but any brokerage that handles investments, and protecting your money. So these are really interesting areas that it's diving into. I did see an interview of Elon, I guess years back. I think he was talking about how when he was ousted as CEO of PayPal, and he wanted to take PayPal in this direction of being a one-stop shop for finance. And I think that the way that I interpreted it was he was saying that was sort of like a big part of the rift and the disagreements, why he was then thrust aside. But you can read more about this, of course, if you go to their press release and dig in there. But I just want to point out sort of like the industries or the areas in which SoFi is playing. If we go here to the Analyst, I just wanted to talk about, this is the Oppenheimer Analyst that gave SoFi an outperform rating. We're initiating with a rating of outperform, blah, 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 about 20% upside at that time. Definitely more than that now. But we believe SoFi's assets, lending, investment, and platform provide an opportunity for customer acquisition, cross-sell, and market share capture. So sort of what we were talking about before, there's a ton of additional customers out there, being that their customer base is so low currently. And then, this Dominic Gabriel is basically saying that the ability for them to house all of these different products under the same company gives them a ton of opportunity to sell to current members and future members, because they won't have to go somewhere else to get a loan, somewhere else to have a savings account, somewhere else to get credit, whatever it may be. They can handle it all there. Somewhere else to go trade stocks. They can do it all there with SoFi. And so the fact that they can then monetize all of that activity gives them a really big umbrella under which to house their members. 3 reasons to buy. So Anthony Noto is a great CEO. We just looked at his profile, so we don't have to get into that. These are the ones that are more interesting to me. Financial projections suggest more growth ahead, so obviously we would hope so. Loan volume up at 25% compound annual rate from an estimated 9.6 billion to a forecast 42.1 billion in 2025. So keep that sort of timeline in the back of your mind. Looking at about a 3 or 4 year timeline there. Adjusted net revenue up at a 43% compound. Again, noting 2025 here, and then noting 2025 here, and improving adjusted earnings before interest as well. So growth ahead, and then I think, maybe I had started in a weird place here. There we go. Financial services industry is a large, broken industry, and SoFi can fix it. So that is a great, little mini headline. I know that this is also sort of coming from them. So, take that with a grain of salt. But to the extent to which they can actually make progress on these things, obviously everyone uses banking to some degree, and loans and lendership and investing. Obviously, these are big industries that people have to interact with for the most part, and obviously they're big money-making industries too, which we'll see when we go back to the market caps in a second. So the charter bank SoFi plans to acquire, blah, blah, blah. Golden Pacific has about 150 million in assets and 3 branches in California. SoFi intends to kick in 750 million in capital if it's approved, and plans to maintain the community bank business while also embarking on its national digital business plan. So that's super interesting to see what that entails, and sort of what they have in store for their national digital business plan. So before we look at the others, let's hop over. So let's talk about some players in these industries and what their market caps are, keeping in mind that SoFi's current market cap is 13 billion. Let's look at PayPal. PayPal obviously, does a bunch of these things: digital and mobile payments, consumers and merchants, blah, blah, blah. If you don't know what PayPal does, you can go look them up. This video is going to be long enough as it is, but market cap 355 billion, okay, versus SoFi's 13 billion. So just consider the growth potential. If SoFi were to 10x its price, okay, were to be trading around $160 a share, that would just be 130 billion. And PayPal alone, 355 billion. Okay, Bank of America, looking at the banks. Now, of course, understand that there's a big outsized situation here, right? This is a small community bank, but again, keep in mind, they're not acquiring it, I don't think, because they want to run a slew of community banks. I think it's so that they have the capability to act as a bank, that they have the charter, and that they can then embark on their national digital business plan, whatever that may be. You would have to assume, though, that it has a really large outsized interest if it's going to compete and really be a valuable area of the business for them. Bank of America coming in at 348 billion. Okay, so we're right in the mid 300s of billions of dollars so far. Square obviously processes payments. Again, just look up Square if you're not familiar, but 110 billion market cap for Square. Okay, so that's the first one that's much, much lower than the others. But those are the main areas in which I would be focused for the time being. I didn't go too deep into the lending area. Obviously, Bank of America engages in lending, but to the degree to which there's like crossover there, then that's kind of like the case. But SoFi, again, coming in market cap 13 billion, and then we have PayPal and Bank of America in the mid 300 billions. We have Square at about 110 billion. Okay, so let's hop back over really quickly. Consider Robinhood, which is set to go public. Coming up, I'm going to do a different video on just how the Robinhood IPO could impact SoFi, but I'll handle that when we get a little bit closer to the IPO actually coming to pass. But Robinhood, from their private investors, is reportedly valued at 40 billion. Okay, and then if we look here, just need the headline of this. Robinhood valued at 55 billion on secondary market ahead of IPO, and that was released on July 1st of 2021. So let's presume that Robinhood is going to come in and pretty quickly settle into something around like 75-80 billion dollars, relatively fast. I would presume. So that would then put them about 5x, 6x of SoFi, just sort of like immediately out of the gates. And obviously Robinhood has done a great job of acquisition and like getting sort of like the retail market into the space. I personally am less of a fan in Robinhood. I also think that their focus is like much more narrow, which even then they incorporate a lot of different activities. They have, I think, their card that you can use. They have crypto and stocks, obviously, and but I don't get the sense that they're trying to be this one-stop shop that SoFi is trying to be. So here's the numbers that I'm looking at. Over the course of about a year, I would expect SoFi to absolutely be over $50. That's my expectation. That is what I'm making my investments based off of. A 1-year target of over $50. And I could even see that coming much, much sooner once sort of some of this like the stank of the SPAC wears off, or whatever it is that's sort of like keeping folks out of SoFi at the moment. I'm looking over $50 for a year. Now in that like 2025, like that year range, we saw that come up several times in one of these articles. I won't bore you by trying to go to find it again, but by 2025, I'm looking at this to be in about that 10x range, so about $160-ish a share. Obviously, we'll have to adjust those if there are splits along the way or things like that. But I would expect, you could think of it as I would expect the market cap to 10x. So I'm looking at something around 130 billion market cap by 2025. And then my 10-year view, so somewhere around the 2030, 2031, I would expect this to be closer to about $250 billion market cap. And then, extrapolate that out to whatever the share price would be at that point. But, I would, for myself, I'm fixated on the market cap. And I do think that that's actually probably a pretty conservative number. It's just hard to know how well they will execute on these things as time rolls out. But if they execute really well and there becomes a reality to this one-stop shoppedness that they're trying to create, then I would definitely look for something over like a Bank of America market cap at 348 billion. I would be looking toward the 400 billion range at that point if they're able to actually execute on that vision. But there'll be a ton of stickiness along the way. I have no doubts. It's a challenging industry to be in. There's a lot of regulation, a lot of sort of people to please, a lot of bureaucracies to please, I guess we should say. And you have to continue to grow and offer users a compelling experience. So that there'll be that factor as well. All right, well, that will do it for this video. Again, if you didn't catch it, I'm looking over $50 a share. Again, adjust that, if we need to, but say it's about 3x the price 2.5, 3x the price from where we currently are. Or yeah, I guess 3. Yeah, 3x plus is the correct factor there. Math in my head. 3x plus over the next year. Around 2025, I'm looking at the 10x multiple, and then around 2030, I'm looking conservatively, in the high 200 billions. But again, on great execution, I'd be looking closer to 400 billion on the market cap. All right, well, thanks a bunch for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.